So if you're looking to move to Bali as a digital nomad, this is my honest opinion and experience being a digital nomad myself living in Bali. What's up guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sean and I normally talk about making money online, personal finance, those kind of topics. I built a business online which allows me to travel the world and live in places like Bali, which I currently am. And I've been living here since January of 2022. So basically about 10 months I've lived in Canggu, Bali. And this is my honest opinion on whether living in Bali is worth it or not. So, I don't really typically make these kind of videos. As I mentioned, we focus more on, business and finance kind of topics. But a lot of people, I feel, once they build up their business, and it's an online business where they can travel anywhere in the world because they're making money online, they would, start considering living in different countries where your money goes a lot further. And also the quality of life is higher. So in my case, I chose Bali and I'm also going to Thailand in 10 days. By the time you're watching this video, I will be in Thailand. And I'm trying to find a place where I can call home. So I started off with Bali. This is my honest opinion. Once again, please don't get mad because this is completely biased. This is just my opinion, my experience. And another disclaimer is this is in Canggu. Okay, there are many different places in Bali. You can even live outside of Bali if you want to. But if you watch a lot of YouTube videos or if you Google the best place to live in Bali, you will find that a lot of the answers will say Canggu, Bali. And that's exactly what happened to me. I looked it up, I did a lot of research, and I chose Canggu based on a lot of people's recommendations. And this is my experience. So I created a little slide here. So once again, I lived in Canggu, Bali, 10, 11 months. This is my very biased opinion. Okay, everybody will have different experience, so just take that as a grain of salt. And I live in Canggu. If you live in Ubud, Uluwatu, even somewhere like maybe Sese or Ahmed, it will be different. And I can kind of talk about that as well. And finally, my information might be wrong, so just keep that in mind. So when I look at a place to live, for me as a digital nomad, here are the criteria. It's a little different trying to find a place as a digital nomad and, trying to find or just go somewhere as a vacation. I think the criteria is very different. And for me, to live somewhere long term, the criteria is convenience, cost of living, ease of visa, how easy it is to get long-term visa, how good and stable the Wi-Fi is, which is huge because we're working here, right? Things to do, healthcare, transportation, weather, people, and the quality of life. So let's go and kind of talk about each one. Starting with the convenience, in Bali, I would give it a 5 out of 5, so 5 stars. And the reason why is because you can order and hire out pretty much everything that you want to. There's an app called Gojek, and Grab is an alternative, and there's a couple other ones too, but those two are the main ones. And essentially, if you want to have people just deliver your food, you can go to Gojek and get food delivered to you, right? You can do laundry outsource. A lot of people just pay somebody else to do laundry for you. You can take the laundry to the shop, or you can even have them pick up the laundry for you, which is what I do. Same as cleaning. A lot of villas typically comes with cleaning, so you don't even have to clean. Even doctors. When I got sick multiple times, because I've been struggling with health living in Bali, because of the spice over here kind of affected me. But I can literally WhatsApp my doctors to come to my villa instead of me having to go to them. So literally everyone can come to me, and it's super convenient if you're willing to pay a little more. So I would give convenience 5 out of 5 for that reason. You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, you don't have to literally do anything besides work. And that's the main thing is, the great thing about Bali is if you really just want to work and do nothing else, you can. Now, next criteria is the cost of living. So before the border opened, I would say the cost of living is 5 stars as well. Villas were super cheap. The food is cheap. It's like maybe 1/3 or even a quarter of the price of US. After the border opened though, which was around, I think, April or May, it got a lot more expensive, especially in Canggu. There's this flood of tourists coming in. And so the villas and rentals, the market over there just skyrocketed. And basically, it's much more expensive, but the food isn't, it didn't change much. So for that reason, I'm still giving it a 4 stars. But if you're just looking at villas and rentals, it's probably a 3-star. So food, once again, it can be cheap or expensive depending on where you go. The biggest con with food in Bali is that the groceries, from my experience, is pretty expensive. I go to Pepitos, which is the grocery stores over here. I don't really know an alternative. If you have, hookups or connections, if you know the spots for each, stuff that you want to buy, maybe it's cheaper. But if I go to a grocery store, especially if I want to buy meat and other, produces, it's super expensive for whatever reason. I feel like it's more expensive than buying in the US because my food bill, although I'm, Gojacking and hiring food to deliver to me instead of cooking it myself, my food bill in Bali is higher than US. Obviously in the US, I was going to Sam's Club, buying in bulk, cooking it myself, so it's significantly different. But still, I am paying more in Bali, and groceries over here is really, really expensive too. So this picture is a full meal, and it's like $5. So if you go to a local warung, it can be cheap. But obviously, you don't want to eat there every single day because it's salty, it's oily, right? There are healthier options, but it's going to cost a lot more. So it's not that different from the US if you think about it. Now, the rentals over here, before the border opened, I was paying for this place on the picture. Super gorgeous, overseeing the rice field, very, very quiet, and private pool, everything. It was a really nice studio, 1-bedroom place, and I was paying $700 a month. And it's not the cheapest place in Bali, right? You can get a place cheaper, but you're essentially, having a guest house. So you have a bunch of roommates. And for me doing YouTube and everything, I didn't want neighbors close by because if they make a noise, it's hard for me to film videos, right? So this place was amazing. Super fast Wi-Fi, private pool, rice field, everything. $700 a month. The thing is, after the border opened, they kicked me out because they wanted to switch to daily rentals instead of a monthly rental. I moved to another place, and after a couple months, they also wanted to switch to a daily rental with Airbnb, so they kicked me out, or they told me I have to move. And I ended up staying at this place, which you're seeing on the video right now. It is a 1-bedroom, 2-bath loft. So this is a living room. There's a kitchen. There's a bedroom upstairs. It's modern, it's clean, but nothing special. I don't even have a private pool. I don't have no crazy view, right? I got a bunch of neighbors sharing the pool. I'm paying $1,700 a month. So obviously for me, you can get a place much cheaper. But for me, once again, I cannot do guest houses, because of the stuff that I require for work. I also need really fast Wi-Fi, right? And that's why I'm, paying a little more, and that's fine. But the point is that if you think about it, it's not that cheap anymore, I feel, when it comes to especially the rentals in Canggu area. Even in Ubud, Uluwatu, it's, kind of going up. So unless you want to stay in guest houses, or have roommates or rent multiple months to a year up front, typically a lot of people rent, 1 whole year up front, then you can get a pretty good deal. But unless you want to do that, it's pretty hard to find places nowadays. And so I found decent rentals to be close to US price. That's the issue, is that the cost of living is definitely going up. So the next criteria is the ease of visa. So this I'll give Bali 5 out of 5 because the visa situation is pretty good. So you have a couple options when it comes to visa, but you can just come to Bali. So it depends on the country that you're coming from, but visa on arrival, I believe it's 2 months if you extend it for 30 days and then you extend for another 30 days. What I'm on is this visa called B211A visa, which you can extend every single month up to 6 months without having to do border runs. All you have to do is to pay for the visa extension. It's like $80 or something like that. So it is a very good way to stay long term. And I think that's what makes, Bali really, really convenient because of how easy it is to get visas. Now the Wi-Fi depends on the location, villa or the cafe that you're going to, but most places in Canggu have decent workable Wi-Fi speed. The place I'm staying here had some issues, so it really depends on the provider. But right now it's super fast. It's like 100 megabyte per second. And I think that's why most people come to Canggu, because you have the most stable Wi-Fi. But even if you're going to Ubud, even Ahmed, a little far out, it really comes down to the specific villa that you're staying on, whether the Wi-Fi is fast or not. So it's not really the area. I think it's just the villa. So you always want to make sure that you ask them how fast the Wi-Fi is. Now for things to do in Bali, I would also give this a 5 stars. So 5 out of 5. So much outdoor activities, waterfalls, the beach, rivers, etc. So many things to do. You can see me jumping off of this cliff in Uluwatu. Also, especially in Canggu areas, there's a lot of nightlife venues, partying, restaurants, cafes. If you want to do that, for me, I don't really party. But for others, that's why people come to Canggu to party a lot of times. And also there's always something new to do. So that's a very good thing about Bali. Now, healthcare, I will give this 3 stars because once again, I got sick from the food. I developed gastritis, basically just like stomach inflammation, and I couldn't eat a lot of stuff. I was puking everything out and stomach pain, and I suffered from this for like months. But basically, I had to use the healthcare system quite a bit. Now, it was a little tricky for me because, it's hard to communicate. Obviously, we communicate through Google Translate. It was okay, but it wasn't the best. And obviously, we're in a different country, so I'm not going to expect them to speak English. Obviously, I wouldn't have that kind of weird expectation, but I'm just stating the fact here is that it was a little hard to communicate if I didn't speak Indonesian, right? So another thing is a lot of the doctors that I spoke to, they kind of they weren't really helpful. And I'm not trying to categorize the entire, Bali healthcare as bad because it could be the individual doctors that wasn't good, but this is once again just my personal experience. Now the cost is pretty reasonable. There is insurance that covers this as well. So Safety Wing is the insurance that I use, and it basically reimbursed everything for me. So transportation is where the problem starts happening because the traffic, especially in Canggu, is really, really, really bad. If you go to other areas, it gets a little better, but I think it's still getting worse as more tourists comes in. And the thing is, every time I drive, this is a picture that I took the other day, but every time I drive, it feels like I'm gonna get in an accident. Everybody's so damn close. You're like neck and neck with everybody. And also people over here, locals and tourists, both of them, will cut you off like there's no tomorrow. And it's funny because they'll cut you off and then they still get stuck in traffic right in front of you. So it's like, what's the point in cutting you off? But that's the case. Now, locals are amazing, right? Super nice. It's just that everybody drives very aggressively. And at least the good thing is, when you get in an accident, they're very honest. And then you can kind of deal with it in cash. But if you get in a very serious accident and you have to go to the hospital, the thing is, insurance does not cover motorbike accidents if you do not have an international driver's permit. So if you have a proper international driver's permit that covers motorbikes, then yes, insurance will cover it. But a lot of people here, they drive without the driver's permit. So if they get in an accident, then insurance does not cover and you can lose a ton of money doing so. So that's kind of the major issue I see is that, every single day I drive, I see people getting into accidents. It's very, very common here. And a lot of people don't really have insurance. So that's one thing that you really have to watch out for. And once again, this is for both tourists and locals. They both drive very aggressively. Obviously, I cannot generalize it. Some locals drive recklessly, some drive very good, and same as tourists, right? Like some tourists drive super recklessly and some drive very good. So it's case by case. But I've seen plenty accidents by locals, and I've seen plenty accidents by tourists. So it really depends. The weather, I would give this 4 stars. The reason why I didn't give Bali 5 stars is because 5 stars to me is like somewhere like Medellin, eternal spring. It's very comfortable all year long. Bali, the weather overall is really, really nice, but there is rainy season. It can get very hot and humid as well. So for that reason, I'm giving it a 4 stars, but it's still very good. Now, people is amazing, absolutely amazing. 5 stars for sure. Now, locals are very nice, very, very honest. That's what I like. There's a lot of trust going on between, each other, and they're super nice. So I really like that about that. And even expats, people visiting Bali, they kind of see that and the vibe changes, and mostly people are nice. Obviously, this is also case by case, right? There are some rude locals that I met, but mostly they're very nice, and there are some rude expats that I met, but mostly they're very nice. So for the most part, people here are amazing. So the quality of life, I would give this 4 stars, because the pro for me is there's tons of activity close to nature, which increases the quality of life to me. If you're close to the ocean, if you're close to the mountain, trees, subconsciously, I think it makes you happier. And, that is huge to improve your quality of life. Now, the health-focused living, access to healthy cafes, restaurants, a lot of fruits, vegetables, coconuts is very cheap. I think that's huge. The con, though, is the traffic and the constant noise of traffic and construction. The last place I lived, it was pretty much impossible to film videos during the day because they were doing construction right next door to my villa, and they're hammering away, and it was really, really noisy. So that's the only thing with especially Canggu areas. There's so many construction, so many traffic, and the noise can get a little crazy. And if you're in a business like YouTubing or making videos, it can get a little tricky. And then it can also add to the stress if you're hearing that all day long, right? And also the rising costs will add to the cons. And that's why I give this 4 stars. So the final rating to me, I will give Bali 4 stars. There are moments where I feel like it'll be 3.5 stars, especially in Canggu when I'm stuck in traffic. But then I think about how you can get away of Canggu to, once again, Ubud, Uluwatu, Sese. I think, Perennial and Sese area is picking up. I think people are moving out of Canggu. So I think you can escape that and have less, construction, less traffic. But another thing you have to keep in mind is if you live outside of the main areas, a lot of times you sacrifice good Wi-Fi. Now, once again, you can find villas outside of the main areas with good Wi-Fi, but oftentimes it's trickier, right? So for us as digital nomads, we're not here for vacation. Hopefully we're here to work and be productive and build our business as well. So for that, we need good Wi-Fi, good setup for work, as well as convenience, right? We don't want to be super far from the gym or the shops or wherever we go, and we're driving 20, 30 minutes each way just to get to the gym and back. We're losing a lot of time, which makes it impractical, once again, as a digital nomad who's more serious about trying to build our businesses. So that's the 2 major issues that I see is if you stay in Canggu, stay in the main areas, the traffic is insane, the noise is very noisy, but it's convenient and often comes with good Wi-Fi. If you try to escape the main areas, often comes with a little more inconveniency, which I'm not sure how much you can tolerate. It really comes down to you on if you can make it work with the setup that you have for your business, or if you need a little more of a better setup. So that I can't comment, but this is just my thoughts on the current situation. So that was my review of Bali as a digital nomad. I think overall it's it's great. It's just that whenever something is great, obviously more people will come, more construction, more traffic, and it kind of stops becoming great after a while. And then people go to the next best spot or the next hot spot, right? So it makes me think, whether is it practical to find a place to live long term, or just accept the fact that you have to move around every couple years or so, which could be fine, and maybe that is an option, but we'll see. The next stop for me is Thailand. Okay, I'm going to start with Chiang Mai and then maybe move around Thailand and see if it's any different or if it's the same, and I'll report back to you guys. But for those who watch my videos regularly, I'm sure that a lot of you guys are also making money online, and in the same boat. You make money online, so you have the time freedom, you have the location freedom, and because you can go anywhere, you're curious how it is in other countries. So this is my feedback about Bali. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully not a lot of people are offended by the video, because I noticed that people in Bali are very proud of Bali, and that's amazing. But when somebody say anything negative, then you will notice that in the comments. So we'll see how it is. But once again, this is just my biased opinion, and I think overall Bali is still pretty amazing. So that is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to follow me along in this journey of finding the best spot to live as a digital nomad, then make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.